So first of all, it's very good to see you all, and it's a great honour that we've been joined this evening by the Georgian ambassador to the United Kingdom. So welcome, Your Excellency. You're very welcome. Now, this is a very good turnout for us this evening, and that's entirely because of you. Our speaker is known to many of us and very well known in the international Byron community, Professor Ines Merabishvili. Ines is a professor at the Tbilisi State University, where she is head of translation. She is the founder and president of the Byron Society of Georgia, the author of many books and articles.
What?
And this is the very latest.
What?
This is the very latest.
Yes.
The very
What?
latest, yes. The organizer of the 40th International Byron Conference that took place in Tbilisi 2 years ago.
Three.
Three years ago. And recognised as the outstanding translator of the works of Byron from English into Georgian. So it's a great honour to have you here. A great pleasure too, Ines. And thank you for coming. So we now have the pleasure of hearing your lecture on Byron and numerology.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, dear Byronists, I'm very pleased and very honored to be today with you and to give a talk on Lord Byron in the London Byron Society. Several weeks ago, recently, in Tbilisi, on the 22nd of January, Lord Byron's birthday, I was interviewed by the Georgian First Channel, TV channel, and they asked me to recite in Georgian my translated version of Lord Byron's poem. On this day, I complete my 36th year. Of course, I accepted that with honor, and when reciting, or before reciting, due to the legacy of Lord Byron, I changed the title this way. On this day, I complete my 230 years. So today, I'll give a talk dedicated to 230th anniversary of Lord Byron's birth in London. As far as today, we are going to discuss numbers due to your kind offer. I'll commemorate, with your permission, 2 more dates. Shortly before my departure, Georgia celebrated centennial jubilee of Tbilisi State University. It was on the 8th of February, as far as it was founded exactly 100 years ago on the 8th of February. Ivane Javachishvili, after whom the university is named today, founded it on the 8th of February, on the very day of commemorating David the Builder, the Georgian king, distinguished for his excellency of ruling and his not only great strategy of fights, etc., but great contribution for education, scholarship, etc. As far as he was the king who founded university, named Gelati Academy as early, you won't believe, in 1106. Just to coincide in time with leading universities like Oxford. Knowing that the Georgian Academy of Phasis successfully functioned between 3rd century, of course, Anno Domini, including, as sources show, 8th century. As you can see, according to my talk, the roots of education and scholarship are very deep in Georgia, but we had to undergo, and Georgia underwent very hard obstacles, difficulties, and huge intervals in its existence due to geopolitical situation. I want just to emphasize that the Centennial University today deserves commemoration here. As far as Kenneth has already mentioned, I am the professor of the university with my translation department, etc. But I want to bring to your notice one very interesting point, that when I became a student, the university celebrated 50 years anniversary. And then I was lucky to have been together with university other 50 years of my life, to be closely linked with it as a student, as a postgrad student, professor, head of the department, and of course, head of the society, Byron Society, that was established in the university with its great support exactly 30 years ago in 1988. This is another day to commemorate. And this year we commemorate 30 years of Byron Society in Georgia, and it was my alma mater that opened the door so widely to Byron studies. And we celebrated its bicentennial jubilee with a conference and a good program, artistic program. And since then, university has been supporting Byron studies. I'm, as you know, active enough to attend conferences, to publish works, translations, etc. And besides, as Ken has already mentioned, it hosted a big international conference with over 100 delegates from 20 countries, and the delegation was kindly headed by the Lord Byron, his descendant, the 13th, Robin, together with Lady Byron, and Earl of Lytton, John, with his spouse, Countess of Lytton, and Georgian scholars still remember with enjoyment the conference. And it was the university, of course, that supported the establishment of the Byron School as one of the branches of the Byron Society. This is the School of English and Cultural Studies, named after Lord Byron. And actually, Lydia visited, Katerina visited, many of Byron delegates visited it. It's actually a Byron house in Georgia, and you are most welcome to see that wonderful place of Byron in Tbilisi. And of course, to finalize my introduction, it was Lord Byron that enriched the university with Byron scholarship, with new contacts and new findings. And if I even in a smallest way contributed to Byron scholarship, of course, I'm happy to be here and to continue. Before I start my talk on Lord Byron, I would rather refer not only to the epoch he lived or the previous centuries, but mostly to our contemporary life with its technical revolutions and huge upheavals, the history of which spans over a century only. I mean technical revolutions. But it resulted in total changes in a man's life. Just simply, we can emphasize that way. If a man during the previous centuries and the innumerable ages of human civilization traveled on foot or on a horseback, moved from one side and one place to another, in a carriage, in a boat, even in a ship, etc., in the 20th century, A man vigorously dashed into the air and observed cosmic spaces. Yes, this is the fact. And this happened during the human civilization only in the 20th century. And still it continues, and we are the witnesses of it. It's fabulous, but it happens. And we put a question, has the world become better? Of course it has. But at the same time, a man has lost something very dear to him and very dear to the world, as far as current ages have not produced yet figures equal in values, for example, to Byron, to Shakespeare, and others. But the English language readers or the country is not an exception. The same happens in any country. The same happens with every nation. And in my opinion, the most precise appreciation of this phenomena was offered by Eliot, T.S. Eliot, in The Rock. Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? And where is the knowledge we have lost in information? Knowing this, we are still very lucky in two main aspects, and I hope you agree at least. First, that we have these great texts, and second, that we may approach these texts with a very strong desire to unveil hidden messages and fill the gaps of their understanding. This, we hope, can bring vast possibilities of gaining wisdom and delight through new findings across the existing texts in order to prepare the world for genius, poets, or great thinkers in future. I hope you will forgive my daring if I said the Providence as if offers a chance or a challenge for new discoveries. And we are ready to accept that challenge, I think. And that's what new trends of sciences and scholarships are doing nowadays. In modern philology, I would love to emphasize the role of text linguistics, text interpretation, hermeneutics, intertextuality, linguistics of translation, etc. And that's what Byron scholarship is actually doing in many aspects. I emphasize this fact as I want to guide you with your permission into unveiled messages his text, Lord Byron's text, comprises. In the 17th canto of Don Juan, you have handouts with you, and it starts with the 17th, his last unfinished, yes, piece. In the ninth stanza of Don Juan, 17th canto, I repeat, Lord Byron shares with us the following thoughts. Pythagoras' log, Socrates, but pages might be filled up as vainly as before with the sad usage of all sorts of sages, who in his lifetime each was deemed a bore. The loftiest minds outrun their tardy ages. This they must bear with, and perhaps much more, the wise man sure when he no more can share it, he will have a firm post, albeit on posterity. I emphasize firm post, albeit on posterity, and let us see how it works. Among the three above mentioned thinkers and others, Pythagoras was the first to call himself a philosopher, lover of wisdom, whose ideas exercised a marked influence of Aristotle and Plato, and through him all of Western philosophy. But Pythagoras was also a mathematician, a man living in the 6th century before Christ. known as not only as mathematician and father of numbers, who made major contribution also to the knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, science, music theory. As early as in the 6th century, he founded a scientific secret society called the Pythagoreans that believed that most concepts of life could be understood through mathematics. Pythagoras reasoned that the world is built upon the power of numbers and that the entire universe could be expressed numerically, creating a mystical system expanded by other early Greek philosophers. Both the Greeks and Hebrews held 10 to be the perfect number. Pythagoras considered that 10 comprehends all arithmetic and harmonic proportions, and like God is tireless. We have 10 fingers, yes? All nations calculated with it because when they arrive at 10, they return to 1, the number of creation. Pythagoreans believed that the heavenly bodies were divided into 10 orders. That's very short information, and I hope you all know about it, but I still have to just make comments. He taught that each number had its own peculiar character, virtue, and properties, and that all higher numbers could be reduced to one of the original 9 digits, 1, 2, 3, etc., including 9. A digit is any integer under 10. He called for counting all the fingers. Pythagoras reduced numbers greater than 9 back to 1 of the original digits by adding the individual digits together. For example, the digits of the number 12 are 1 and 2, yes? In Pythagorean math, the 1 and the 2 numbers, 1 and 2, are added together and they are equal to 3. That is very important for me to follow it because later we have to count something. For example, the same is with any number. Let us take 89, yes? 8 and 9 make 17, yes? And 17 makes a sum of 1 plus 8, and that is 7, and that makes 8. So 89 is number 8. Let's proceed. Although Pythagorean's math is named after Pythagoras, or Pythagoras as we say, he did not invent this method, as sources say in numerology. Where he learned it is not certain, but archaeological evidence in the form of tablets dated back from 19th, 16th centuries before Christ indicate that ancient Babylonians were familiar with what later they named the Pythagorean theorem. The system theorized that all things are numbers, and numbers influence the essence of things. Thus, number is the mediator between the divine and earthly. So if one performs various operations with numbers, these operations also affect the things related to these numbers. Numerological practices and beliefs have survived throughout the centuries down to the present day. An example of this concerns the numbers 11, 22, and 33 to be master numbers and must not be reduced to a single digit, which, when corresponding to an individual's name, prognosticate that the individual is a highly developed person if he is with these master numbers. Number 33 is that of Avatar, and we know that number 22 is Lord Byron's birthday. Numerology did not find favor with the Christian authorities and was assigned to the field of unproved beliefs. along with astrology and other forms of divination and magic. Despite this religious purging, the spiritual significance assigned to heretofore sacred numbers did not disappear. Several numbers, such as the Jesus number, you all know this is 888, 888, that actually, if we sum it up in the Pythagorean way, it also makes 24. Yes, 8 3 times. 24 makes 2 plus 4, that makes 6. And let us have in mind, have been commented upon and analyzed. And as it is known, numerology is still used, in spite of that fact that I mentioned, at least in conservative Greek Orthodox circles. They pay attention to it. In the early years of Christianity, the church fathers commented extensively on numerology. Though the fathers repeatedly condemned the magical use of numbers, which had descended from Babylonian sources to the Pythagoreans and Gnostics of their times, they almost unanimously regarded the numbers of Holy Writ as full of mystical meaning. And they considered the interpretation of these mystical meanings as an important branch of exegesis. Currently, theologians have two main approaches. Numbers enclosed in the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament represent literal quantities, and that's all. While others believe that numbers here relate to symbolism, which imply quantity or attributes of the value rather than to an actual quantity. According to biblical meaning of numbers, number 1, for example, represents the unity between God the Father and his Son Jesus. For example, number 3 pictures completeness to a lesser degree than 7. The most perfect number is 7. 3 is also close to it. As for number 6, it symbolizes man and human weakness and manifestation of sin. Man was created on the 6th day, and the beast number, that is very unpleasant for us, is 666, 3 times 6. But at the same time, in secular sources, Britannica, for example, considers 6 to be the number of perfection. Let us carry on. But according to numerology, when doubled, number 6 produces 66. That is an angel number, and this will be very important for us. It's comprised of vibrations and energies of number 6, doubled and amplified. Number 66 is a powerful number of unconditional love, healing, faith, and trust in the divine. It is a message, as sources say, from your angels to put your faith and trust in the benevolence of the universe as your daily needs are continually met. The angels are assisting, if you have number 66, guiding and supporting you with manifesting your goals, desires, wishes, and keep your thoughts positive when the angel number 66 appears repeatedly, numerology says. It also relates to number 6 because if we make sum of it, 6 and 6 will make 12, 12 makes 3, etc. During the 19th century, when scientific discoveries concerning light, magnetism, electricity were being made, the theory that numbers corresponded to energy patterns or vibrations became popular in the 19th century. So 24 centuries later, after Pythagoras. In that very same century, Pythagoras had another firm orbit on posterity, but through whom? Through Lord Byron's daughter, Ada, Countess of Lovelace. Yes? because she became also the enchantress of numbers. Going beyond Charles Babbage's ideas of computers and manipulating numbers, Ada succeeded in presenting the first documented computer program, thus inventing the first calculating machine. However, she described her approach as poetical science. We know well that Ada was brought up by Lady Byron in an atmosphere ignoring and hating Lord Byron. Later on, Ada, as an adult and a married lady, realized her father's values and deeply loved him when she had never met him. She actually became a victim of that tragic fate. Lord Byron's prediction in the third canto of Childe Harold came true. My voice shall with thy future visions blend and reach into thy heart when mine is cold. Ada never shared her mother's attitude towards the scandal created about Lord Byron and Augusta Lee, his sister. This is what Ada wrote about it to Lady Byron. I should like some time to know how you ever came even to suspect anything so monstrous. The natural intimacy and familiarity of a brother and sister certainly could not suggest it to any but a very depraved and vicious mind, which yours decidedly was not. This is a letter to Lady Byron composed in 1841. The same letter comprises the following words. I once told you that I have an ambition to make on compensation to mankind for his misused genius. If he has transmitted to me any portion of that genius, I would use it to bring our great truths and principles. I think he has bequeathed this task to me. Great, yes? And she did it. Inspired by her father, Ada became the first herald of the new era of technology against the background of Romanticism, where the major figure was, of course, Lord Byron, her father. If Pythagoras, living in the 6th century before Christ, was considered to be the father of numbers, Ada Byron in the 19th century Anno Domini is renowned as the enchantress of numbers and as a prophet of the computer age with a foot firmly planted in the 21st century. Here is what Ada wrote about her newly invented system. No one knows what almost awful energy and power lie yet undeveloped in that wiry little system of wine. Mystical properties of numbers evoke interest, not only for mathematicians and numerologists, but for other curious observers, including me as well. And apparently you, because you came to attend this lecture. And I continue in the second part of my talk, the essential points. The point of my talk, if my first part, like introduction on numbers, was not very long, is to attract your attention to numbers in life and the works of the 6th Lord Byron, and especially to the number 6 that appears to be the part, at least, of his title. He was the 6th Lord Byron. Did numbers influence Lord Byron's destiny? That's the question. Is Byron's poetry touched with power and mysticism of numbers? That's the question. Numerology presents Lord Byron's life path with number 2. As a result of summing up month, day, and year of his birth, 22nd January, the year 1788, the first month, January, and we get 2. And they say that persons distinguished by number 2 are called duadic personalities. They get into those they love and allow the other persons to get into them, to such a degree that their voice, manners, posture, and sometimes even their very thoughts become intermingled so deeply that it may seem as if only one person were speaking through 2 mouths. that is duetic personality. As we see, the main characteristics of life path number 2 do not contradict those of Byron's nature. They coincide in some way. But today I'll try to assure that in spite of this existing numerological attitude, even numerological, in connection with Lord Byron, should be revisited and revised. And we will see. Having paid special attention to coincidences connecting number 6 with many decisive episodes of the poet's life, and also with the people closely connected with him on his studies, I dare to emphasize at least the following examples. First, we start. The poet Lord Byron was the 6th Byron, you agree. Second, Lord Byron was born on the 22nd of January, 1788. Pay attention to number 2 as a master number, we have mentioned. But the year 1788 makes 3 8s. It makes 24, 24 makes 6. So the year he was born is under number 6. Third, Lord Byron was born in Hall Street in London. Yes, it is the place where in Oxford Street today Selfridges stand. And I have been and visited the place, of course, the house never exists, but it was number 24. It makes 6 as well. Okay, let's carry on. The news that he would inherit the title and Newstead Abbey, though he inherited at the age of 2, the news reached the family when Byron was age 6. At the age of 6, he learned that he would become the 6th Lord Byron. 6 is working with him. Byron fell in love with Mary Travers. This was unshared love, but never finished, yes? Never, because Byron in Don Juan still refers to this love and is still in love with Mary, and that was at the age of 15. Byron was 15, though Mary was senior 2 years. That also makes 6, 15, 1 and 5. The first anonymous volume of his poems was published in 1806. That makes 1 plus 8 plus 6, that makes 15. And this volume comprised 66 pages only, but that is angel number 66. So the volume is connected twice. Lord Byron married Annabella Milbank in 1815, though on the 2nd of January, but 1815 also makes 6. If we sum it. The same year, in 1815, on the 10th of December, was born Lord Byron's daughter, Ada Byron. Therefore, Ada was born with number 6 to become the enchantress of numbers. Byron saw his daughter for the last time on the 15th of January. Again, 6 follows us. And it was in the year 1816 that also makes 15 to make 6. Byron left England forever in April 1816, but it was on the 24th of April. When in love with Byron, Teresa Guiccioli, with the help of her father, secretly escaped her husband in July, but on the 15th of July. The Pope signed the document of Teresa's divorce with her husband in July later, but it was in July on the 6th, 1820. Shall I carry on? Can I? Okay. To make a real fun out of it. Lord Byron, that it's not a fun, it's, yes, a very dramatic point. Lord Byron died on the 19th of April, 1824. The year 1824 makes 1 plus 8 plus 2 plus 4. That again makes 15. Very frequently, 6 is made through 15 with Byron, 1 and 5. And not 3 and 3. But 3 and 3 also happens. Lord Byron died on Easter Monday. Do you remember at what time? At 6 o'clock in the evening. The coffin with Byron's body, with Colonel Stanhope in charge and Byron's servants and dogs on board the Florida, the ship, sailed from Zante, from Greece, on May 24th. Ada Lovelace died in London in Great Cumberland Place, but number of this place was 6. Ada Lovelace died, his daughter, but Lady Byron died on May 16th, 1860. 6 is present in both dates, but the year 1860 is summed also as 15, that makes 6. Ada Lovelace's daughter, Anna Isabella Noel, married Wilfrid Blunt, a poet and a diplomat, who was Lord Byron's follower in many ways, as if he was haunted by Lord Byron. I read many years ago about him and was impressed. And by coincidences, he visited the places he had no idea had been visited by Byron, etc. And he was a poet and a diplomat. And there is a blue plaque over his London home in Buckingham Rose. I stayed in St. James Hotel many years ago for the first time, and I walked and I came across the blue plaque. And then I told his descendants, John and others, I mean John Lytton, Earl of Lytton, and I saw the plaque showing that he lived there, Buckingham Road, of course, number 15, of course, number 15. In 1968, Westminster Abbey satisfied the request of the Byron Society to add to a memorial plate in the Poets' Corner of the Abbey, as you well know, all know well, in Byron's honor. In the year 1968, it happened, and it results also in 6 when we sum up it. Now I can tell you something from my experience as well. When I learned that the Byron House, established by Elma Dangerfield in London, when she reached me, I reached her and she reached me, it was about 30 years ago, was located in number 6 Gertrude Street in Chelsea. You all remember. You are heading, yes, the Byron House, yes? I was not surprised, of course. But there is more mysticism concerning Mrs. Elma Dangerfield, the great lady, and I would love to emphasize it. She died in the year 2006. If we sum up, it is 8, but it was the 6th year of the 21st century and the 6th year of the millennium, and that was important. But she died when? Great mysticism. You see, maybe most of you know, but some guests don't know, she died on Lord Byron's birthday, 218th birthday, on the 22nd of January. When attending the funeral, we were given, Katerina remembers, the funeral cards. And I want to share whatever I wrote there in the funeral card with all her life. Elma proved that she was close to Lord Byron, but with her death, it was proved that Byron is very close to her as well, and was close. He took her to the heavens on his birthday. Byron's name is special for Greece, you know well. And we were linked with Greece, especially through Professor Byron Raizis. And he was named Byron, Marius Raizis was named Byron to honor his devotion to Byron studies. And of course, like Gertrude Street, number 6, I was never surprised when I used to get information from Byron Raizis, from Athens, Homer Street, number 6, of course, number 6. when Byron Society was established in Georgia, and I commemorated 30 years ago, they asked me to just host it under the same roof where they were. That we had the starting, you see, elements of translatology, and the room that I owned, and it was in the 6th building. And I was not surprised because they had given it earlier before I discovered all this, and we put Byron's portrait on the wall, the copy after his portrait that is so well known of Phillips on the wall. But later we had to enlarge premises, and I was offered to choose. But choice permitted only one building. I could choose rooms, and the best room there was on this 2nd floor. In Georgian way it is 3rd floor, but the building was number 4. I said something happened that there is no number 6 because room was number 313 that made 7. I thought maybe we are moving to perfection, yes? And several days later, I come to my office that I had, and I see there is another number 312. 3, 1, it is 4, 4 plus 2, I'm sure it is 6. But I had it in my secret thoughts. I never shared my thoughts on number 6 with anybody. What has happened, I thought for myself, I inquired with the dean, and they told me that somebody enlarged the office and joined 2 rooms together, so 1 number less, and they gave this new number to my room. Sometimes things may happen this way. And the Byron School that I established, and I had this idea since for example, my publication in the Byron Journal as early 91, I succeeded in getting the certificate and license for it in 1995. When I counted, it also shows 6, of course, yes. A few months ago, and I want to finalize the list, though we could continue, but there is no point, you all trust me, yes? A few months ago, by Kenneth Robbie, I was kindly offered to deliver a lecture for the Byron Society. Of course, I accepted it with honor. He put me in touch with dear Emily, and Emily inquired about the term, the period. I asked to make February as far as we are having holidays at the university, and I could easily travel. But after the turns, I asked you, yes, because we had the Jubilee, and I had to attend the Jubilee to take part. And Emily kindly agreed, and later I made no comments upon it. Of course, we were moving towards 14 or 15. I never said a word, and Emily said, let us take 15. Of course, Emily, let us take 15. Then she got in touch with me concerning premises. I could not be in touch with the ambassador expecting premises. And finally, a month later, I get the address, Queen Street, number 6. And I wrote, Emily, dear Emily, do you often have Byron meetings there, or this is simply this time? And I got the answer, very often, but not always. So today, Lord Byron, with number 6, is with us. And we want to continue, whether I succeed to assure you, whether he paid attention to it or not. This is, I pay attention, yes? And all these coincidences, you see, that are shown, I would love to just recall one. They are coincidences, yes? We can say, how many coincidences? But there is a saying as well in English. and not coincidences, but God incidences. And we have to choose whether number 6 is as God incidence or coincidence, maybe both. Before I try to answer these questions, whether Byron did anything intentionally or realized the presence of number, I share my opinion that Byron loved the number 6, and as I observe, would not miss a chance to encounter it. And we will see it. And I'll focus my talk mainly on Don Juan. As far as Byron's lines in this unaccomplished piece create opinion and refer more, you see, maybe with more accents to number 6 and to numbers than in other pieces. Among other pieces, I would love to mention The Prison of Shillong, that I translated 2 years later after my visit of Shillong during the conference following his footsteps. And when I learned that the historical Bonivar, historical Bonivar, had only 2 brothers, and there were 3 brothers in the family, maybe Byron did not know the history of his family, but still he invented new history, and the Bonivar family had 6 brothers. Maybe this is an allusion to the history of Byron's family, when during the Civil War, English Civil War, 17th century, Byron family supported King Charles I, we know well. And they were so devoted in tragedy, in fights, struggles, etc., that King Charles I awarded and offered the title to the elder son, John. John Byron was the first Lord Byron. Maybe Byron pays attention to it. It is also the point of his family, 6 brothers. And in Shillong, Bonivars are also 6 brothers. Let's go back to Don Juan. Don Juan. And in the very first canto of Don Juan, on Pythagoras and others, it was the 17th canto, yes? But in the first canto, Byron introduces his hero, Don Juan, and his parents. He begins with it. As Byron knows, this was a new way of narration, different from other existing ways of presenting Don Juan. We know many plots with Don Juan, yes, in literature. And he was distinguished as far as Lord Byron's Don Juan begins the story from the beginning, when Juan is a child, but aged 6. Don Juan is 6. And in stanzas 49 and 50, you will find in handouts, we read the following. Can I read it for you? Young Juan waxed in goodliness and grace. At 6, a charming child. At 11, with all the promise of as fine a face as ever to man's mature growth was given, he studied steadily and grew as apace, and seemed at least in the right road to heaven, for half his days were passed at church, the other between his tutors, confessor, and mother. And the same happens in the next one. You will read it, but I'll read the starting one. At 6, I said, he was a charming child. At 12, he was a fine but quiet boy, although in infancy a little wide, etc. Let's say more about it. Why did the poet choose age 6 when describing the young Juan? On the one hand, we may have in mind that he wanted to start from the beginning, and he wanted to start a year earlier, before the age of reason comes. Yes, age of reason in English understanding, as I know, is 7. That the boy or a girl is responsible for their actions and behavior. but he wants to start earlier and he chooses 6. But on the other point, and I'm sure of that, Byron alludes to age 6 in his personal life. If Juan personifies Byron, and we know that characters always personify authors, and especially Byron. Byron alludes to his being age 6 when he learned that he would become the Lord. And the 6th Lord. But being the Lord, as you agree, greatly influenced his life. You see, roads were opened during travelings, and all courts and kings, you see, welcomed him, etc. It meant much for him. Here I want to pay attention to more, though I want to make it shorter. But he learned that he would inherit it at the age of 6, and he was 6. He personifies himself and starts at the age of 6. It should be also noted and added to the above presented list that I presented to you. Yes, we may carry on, but we may find more and you may find more. But I want to add several points to it, that when Byron commented that he began the first canto of Don Juan, 2 cantos are commented by the author himself. Other cantos are commented by the editor. And he wrote in his hand that it was begun in Venice on the 6th of September, 1818, and published on the 15th of July, 15, you know what means 5. As for the second canto, was begun in Venice on the 15th of December, 15th of December is again 6 is present. In the first canto of Don Juan, there are 3 more stanzas showing number 6, and they are very important for us. And I'll emphasize all my points with these 3 stanzas. The most important one among them, from the point of view of revealing Byron's attitude toward numbers, it's stanza 103. Please pay attention to stanza 103. It was on Summer's Day, the 6th of June, Byron says, I like to be particular in dates, not only of the age and year, but moon. He means months, yes? They say a sort of post house where the fates change horses, making history change its tune. Then spur away o'er empires and over states, leaving at least not much besides chronology, excepting the post-obits of theology. Now it becomes clear that Byron considers numbers to have mystical meanings, referring to other theological interpretation. To their theological. In the above cited stanza, the first line goes as follows. Pay attention. It was on Summer's Day, the 6th in June. The dated episode is developed in other stanzas, 104, 121. 3 times he says it was on the 6th of June. Now stanza 104, it was on the 6th of June, about the hour of 7:30, when Julia sate with as pretty a bower, etc. In the next one, we see these licenses to hope, the reader will suppose, from June the 6th. And then what he says, the fatal day without whose epoch my poetic skill for want of facts would all be thrown away, but keeping July and June still in sight that several months have passed. We will say it was in November. Now pay attention to 2 points. In 3 cases, he says 6th of June. But what is June? June is the 6 months of the year. So he makes double six, creating dualic number 66, that is divine and sends love to us, etc. And the angels are just protecting us with this number. But as for 204, he plays tricks with the reader. He sometimes, you see, maybe frightens us with his attempt to use 6 for the third time. That could destroy him and us as well. The beast number that we would not love to have it in the text. And he says how? 6:30. 6:30 is not 6. It is nearer to 7, he says. You only imagine. He's playing tricks with us. And he's enjoying it. But in the final 121, he says that they have rendezvous again, Joan and Julia, and several months later, and in November, he's not sure. Had he said December, we would have this third number, 6. 6 months later, interval. We sometimes count intervals as well, because Byron is very peculiar, as he says, about dates, months, etc. I counted November is less than 6, 5 plus. So he avoids using it for the third time. Therefore, I'm just finalizing my talk, and I maybe need some more 2 minutes if I can. Yes. All 3 cases we have this, and I want to assure you that he wants divine protection with 66. He's creating that in a bower, that how, you see, delicate is their meeting, how refined, how sentiments are working with them. But he's offering, this is multiplicity of voices that should be unveiled by us. And he adds to it with more information, creating that mysticism of 66, and as if protecting love. And if we refer to Giaur, we will see that love is protected by angels and heaven. Can I read it from Giaur? Yes, love indeed is light from heaven, a spark of that immortal fire, with angels shared by a love given, to lift from earth our low desire. Devotion wafts the mind above, but heaven itself descends in love. And he's emphasized multiplicity of voices through other points as well. You see, sometimes people say, maybe Don Juan. No, Byron would say Don Juan, because he says alliteration. Juan, Julia, and June. He creates alliteration and adds to our sentiments working there. You see? And if we argue that number 6 is so important in Byron's life, then we come to the conclusion that Byron was very close to that hexaedic life path. Not duadic only, like 2, whatever, but hexaedic, if I correctly say the word, numerology offers. And what do they offer? The hexaedic life path is happier, where they can make people happy by providing exactly what is right for their needs. This in the case when heaven is clearly speaking to the earth, they say about that number. In Byron's case, heaven was clearly speaking to the earth as far as Byron spoke the truth, we all know. And it is obvious today that due to speaking truth, Lord Byron was hounded out of his country, and scandals, slander, rumor, and controversy that followed him at home and abroad still continue to follow him beyond the grave. Lady Caroline Lamb, as we know well, invented a monstrous lie to separate Lord Byron and Lady Byron. She succeeded in doing that. But she also succeeded in killing the truth, in killing Ada Byron, because she died as a result of the tragedy she experienced, and this monstrous lie later destroyed Medora. And we can say she destroyed the truth about Lord Byron, and still we have to fight with it. And in Betty Alexandra Toole's, she's a contemporary author, excellent book on Ada, that she never believed that scandal and slander, the author. And the title of the book is Ada, the Enchantress of Number. She uses Mark Twain's wonderful words about truth. The truth is easy to kill, but a lie well told lasts forever. That's what happened with Byron. And yes, and her words, she not only invented that monstrous lie, but said words about Lord Byron that are still very popular with us as well. If not with me, still people refer to those famous words, mad, bad, and dangerous to know. And to finalize my talk, I would rather say that Byron was neither mad, nor bad, nor dangerous to know. Mad was the world, if you permit to be so daring to say. Mad was the world that treated him unfairly. Byron was kind, Byron was bright, and Byron was right. Am I right? Creed Byron, as his motto of the family says. Thank you very much.